Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jed Lee. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful and book-loving neighborhood of Reedville, the loveliest little neighborhood in all of Boston. You know, I believe real magic happens when we share stories together. When a child sits down with a parent, grandparent, or teacher and opens up a book, hearts connect, imaginations grow, and love shines brighter. That's what Reading with Your Kids is all about. And if you want to help us grow this mission, please tell all of your family and friends about the show and let them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple, Spotify, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Amazon Music, Audible, CastBox, Player FM, YouTube. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. Really wonderful guest for you today. First up, Cheri Sterman. She is a Senior Director of Education for Crayola Crayon. And she's going to be telling us all about Crayola Creativity Week, which starts Monday, January 26th. Later in the show, Carrie Finison is returning to Reading with Your Kids to celebrate plenty of pancakes. Hey, my friends, you know one of my favorite parts of the day is story time. There's just something magical about snuggling up with your kids, opening a great book, and escaping into an adventure together. And let me tell you, that moment becomes even more magical when you're curled up in the softest, coziest bedding you've ever felt. That's why I'm so excited that CozyEarth.com is supporting Reading with Your Kids. Their bamboo sheets, comforters, and pajamas are unbelievably soft, naturally breathable, and temperature regulating, which means no more sweaty nights or chilly toes. Right now, Cozy Earth is offering Reading with Your Kids listeners an unbelievable and exclusive 41% off their entire site. That's right, you heard me right, 41% off. So go ahead, create your own cozy reading nook, wrap yourself and your kids up in something comfy, grab your favorite bedtime book, and turn story time into the best part of your day. Head on over to CozyEarth.com and use the promo code READ at checkout to save 41%. That's CozyEarth.com, promo code READ. This episode of Reading with Your Kids is sponsored by Ramble Office. You know, before I tell you about Ramble Office, let me tell you about what travel used to look like for me. When I take the Reading with Your Kids studio on the road, it was like a lot. I had one box for the mixer, another case for microphones, a satchel for my laptop, cables everywhere. And I always felt like I was forgetting something. That's why Ramble Office really clicked with me. Rambo takes everything I used to juggle, tech gear, personal stuff, and puts it into one smart, great-looking unit that's designed to be a mobile office, not just luggage. Everything has a place. Everything stays protected. And when you get to where you're going, you're ready to work. Instead of digging through bags or repacking your life every time you move, Ramble keeps your setup organized and ready to deploy. Travel days stop being chaos and start being productive. It's sleek, modern, built for people whose work doesn't stop just because they're on the move. And if your job follows you, whether that's podcasting, teaching, consulting, or creating, Ramble is worth a look. Go to RambleOfficeAnywhere.com, all one word, RambleOfficeAnywhere.com. Use the promo code READ, R-E-A-D, and receive 5% off any product. It's exclusive for Reading with Your Kids listeners. Check it out today, RambleOfficeAnywhere.com, promo code READ. My friends, get ready for a burst of energy and creativity. Our guest is here today to celebrate Crayola Creativity Week. She is the Senior Director of Education for Crayola and really the architect and driving force behind this week. Please welcome to the show, Cheri Sterman. Hey, Cheri, how are you?
Great. So good to talk to you about creativity.
I'm delighted to, Crayola has been such a part of my life. I'm almost 100 years old. How long has Crayola been helping kids and adults be creative?
120 years.
Just after I was born. Just before I was born. So what an iconic company. It really, I've taught, in addition to performing magic shows, I've taught magic, and when you're teaching little kids, there's only so much you can teach them. It becomes more of an arts and crafts project. So I have a box full of Crayola crayons that I've used in these classes over the years. It's what a fantastic product.
Thank you. And we really believe in supporting children with ideas and activities and giving families ways to bring simple creative moments into daily routines, because it's one thing to have the product, but the other is to bring that support and that joy that comes from the conversations around what you make.
That is something I think is really important. And it's, I've said before, I created Reading with Your Kids because I know the relationship I have with my now adult kids was built on a foundation of reading together, and reading together led to cooking together and throwing the ball around together and coloring and creating together with Crayola and other products.
That's right. In fact, one of the things that I got so excited about talking to you is the way literacy and art intersect so beautifully. And that when we merge the reading experience with an art experience, how much deeper and more personal it goes. So if you'd like, I can share some suggestions.
Please do.
For how to really bring that integrated experience together. So one, when kids have a favorite story, a beloved, and you know how it is, they want that same repeated story that they have already memorized all the words to, ask them to design a new cover for that book. And they'll think about the characters and the plot. And this is not about duplicating the one that is on the existing book. This is really being very open to what they think is important in the story. And then similarly, you could ask them to illustrate a new ending for a story and talk about a story's beginning, middle, and end. And then ask, what if the character had made a different decision or taken a different path? Then how would that ending be different? So those are great ways to use the printed book and art, but then also think about drama and how beautifully that brings together art and story. So you can use leftover scraps or costumes, cardboard, create the sets and the costumes to bring that story to life.
Yeah.
And of course, we all have worn out socks. Make sock puppets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just need some fabric markers, maybe some buttons, a piece of felt, and turn the story into a puppet show. So those are some ways that we recommend you just do simple creative moments that link literacy and art. We call it visual literacy and written literacy.
I love that. I love that. It is kind of frustrating for me when I hear parents say, I have to read that book again. It's for 500 times. Well, yeah, the kid wants to hear it, but you don't have to read it and experience it in the same way.
Exactly.
And this opens up a whole, I mean, you could get another 500 readings and experiences out of this.
Exactly. And then one of my other favorite tips is, what do we do with children's art that lets them know that what they drew is really treasured and honored? And one of my favorite, I know you'll get a kick out of this, is to hang the art that they drew, and it might be a favorite bedtime story they drew about, hang that art above their bed on the ceiling so that when they go to sleep, they look up at their interpretation of their favorite bedtime story, right? Nothing better than putting your head back on the pillow and seeing your art above you. And the other is, you can buy real frames, pretty inexpensive, right? And it just says something to kids when we put their art in a frame and hang it, in a main room in the house, instead of only relying on the magnet in the fridge. Now, of course, magnets in refrigerators are great. There's nothing wrong with that. But when a child's put a lot of effort into a piece of art and it really represents something significant, put it in a frame and show that you treasure it.
Yeah, I love it. And Cheri, you're probably not going to believe this. My daughter is married. She has her own home. In fact, she's driving to us as you and I are speaking here. We're going to take care of our grand dog while she flies to Milan to meet a new client. She did that drawing, and we put it over her bed.
I love it.
It is still there today.
Wow.
Now my wife's art studio, and she's mentioned a couple. We should probably take that down. It's all curled up and no, it stays. Absolutely.
I love it. Oh, you live it. I love it.
Tell me, how did this idea for Crayola Creativity Week, how did that come to life?
Well, as you mentioned, a 120-year-old company that's committed to creativity wants to provide that inspiration in addition to the colorful, crayons, markers, paints, etc. So we designed a global celebration of creativity. And what's most important is for everyone to know it's free and easy to use. So we decided that if we could have role models, people that kids would really be interested in hearing from, talk to kids about what creativity is and how it is so important in all of their careers. So I'm talking, we work with actors, authors, entrepreneurs, athletes, astronauts, and they all talk about creativity is so essential in their career. And so we present children, families, schools, libraries with these videos. And there's always the book read aloud in the presentation. And the illustrator of the book demonstrates their art technique and sets a creative challenge, urging children to create their art. So this year, the program runs January 26th through February 1st. But the time to register is right now, because you start to get some of those resources ahead of time so you can have the books on hand yourself. You don't have to have the book because, of course, it's read in the video, but you can get the art supplies, the books, anything you want to be prepared. So sign up now. It's very easy. Crayola.com/creativity week.
I think creativity, there's so many benefits when we encourage our kids' creativity. I know I've done a lot of really neat things in my life, and it wasn't necessarily things that I went and trained for or studied for. It was just like I had this idea, and whether it was in human services, performing on stage, doing podcasts, and I had the idea, and I said, hey, what if we did this? And, usually somebody would say, well, you want to do it? Go figure out how to do it. And what joy it's brought to my life.
I love that you just said, what if?
Mm-hmm.
That is, in fact, what we suggest. And that's one of our tips for parents and teachers and librarians. Show your own curiosity and sense of wonder. And rather than giving kids all the answers, ask, what if?
Mm-hmm.
Let them figure it out. Because you're right, creativity has always been important for children. But nowadays, when we all have a little device that fits in our hand that can provide us more information that we could ever remember, memorizing facts is not enough.
Mm-hmm.
True learning has to be around creativity and original thought. In fact, at Crayola, we define creativity as putting your imagination into action, which is all about original thought, innovative solutions. And kids need creativity to be problem solvers, and to be future ready citizens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so very, very important. Somebody listening to this and listening to my introduction to you might be sitting down thinking, why does Crayola need a director of education and a senior director? That means there's more directors. I thought they just made crayons and had sales guys and whatnot. What's going on here?
Well, I've been with the company for 38 years, and I've had the pleasure of working with schools, libraries, parents. My background is child development, so really talk a lot about how children, grow through different stages. And linking, like we were saying earlier, learning how creativity aligns with all subject matters and makes learning come to life.
Yeah, it really does. And so are you providing services to schools through your position at Crayola?
Well, this is our largest program, and we have absolutely fantastic talent that join us in this program, but we also have year-round programs. Mm-hmm. So if you'd like to see more about how we interact with schools and families, you can go to the Crayola Learning YouTube channel. So there are a variety of Crayola channels, but Crayola Learning is all about our education content. We have read-along, draw-alongs, which of course your audience would just love. Every month, we bring a fabulous children's book, interview the author who reads the story, and then the illustrator explains their art technique and does a demonstration where kids draw along. We also have Art of Learning, where we explore the connection between art and coding and music and math and stargazing and just about any topic that you could imagine, because art really is infused into every aspect of our lives.
Yeah, it really is. Tell me, I see online people, especially creatives, absolutely losing their mind over AI. And I know AI it can be a great tool. AI can also be abused. Where do you personally say, and if you can't comment because you're with the company, that I understand, but where do you fall in this idea of AI and kids?
Well, AI is definitely here to stay. And I do work with a lot of school districts that are still figuring out how to teach kids to use AI appropriately, right? So that's what I'm hearing from most school districts, is they're still in the process of figuring it out. But one of the things I love to say is we still need people to come up with creative, fresh, brand new ideas, because AI, very good at what it does, but AI looks backwards. It looks at what has already been created and it curates it and brings it forward, which is great. But it is the human creativity that generates those novel new things, which get feeded in to the AI model of the next day.
Yep. Absolutely. Yes. Every once in a while I'll go on my statistics and it'll suddenly be, Reading with Your Kids was downloaded 10,000 times yesterday to somewhere in Brazil. And I'm like, I guess they're training a new model down there.
Right.
Tell me, I'm curious, how many colors of Crayola crayons are there?
Oh, I knew at one point, but I don't want to get it wrong. It's north of 200, but I would have to look that up to get you the exact number. But trust me, we have many, because, there are all those specialty metallics and glitter and neon and swirling. And, so it's something I do have to look up because it changes quite often.
That north of 200 is a good enough answer for me. I just love it. I remember, I have such fond memories of tearing the paper off when it gets, and then there was a time I never got the hang of using the sharpener that was in the box. I just take the paper off and figure out a way to do it without that thing.
I'm glad you brought up taking the paper off, because that encourages another art technique. When you lay a crayon down on its side, right? So you were just talking about the sharp tip and the sharpener, which is great, but another art technique, peel it and rub it flat with its whole long, whatever, if you've got a little half a crayon or you've got a full one. And if you have your paper over a textured surface, could be a dish drain or a piece of sandpaper, you'll end up with a lovely rubbing that can be torn for collage or cut. So I'm glad you mentioned taking the label off, because it does open up many additional art techniques.
Yeah, I think I remember doing something like that when I was a kid.
Yes.
Yeah. So, since I have you here, that was a great tip. Any other kind of creative tips that we might not be in front of our mind?
Well, one of the things I wondered if you were interested in is what books are we featuring this year in Creativity Week? Because this is all about reading to your kids, right?
Yep.
So every year we pick 7 books for Creativity Week, and this year's lineup is absolutely fantastic. So on Monday, we will be joined in the video by Jonathan and Drew Scott, the Property Brothers, and they are going to read Big Builders, Big Plans. It's their book about how little people can come up with big ideas and to trust your own creativity. They tell their personal story about how the dining room table became their creative space and how they had great ideas, but then they learned the value of measuring. They were going to build a doghouse that became a birdhouse. So it's a great story. So we also have Questlove, who is known as a fabulous musician and author and producer. And he's sharing his book, The Idea in You, which really talks about respecting your own ideas. You never know where they're going to come from. Talks about being generous with them, sharing them, sending your ideas out in the world, nurture them, like a little tender plant or seedling, let it grow, let it develop. And he will have his illustrator, Sean Quayles, will have children draw a space, almost like a relaxation, meditation, Zen kind of space where they can sit and let their ideas float. So it's really beautiful. Because we are going to be joined by 2 international soccer stars, Harry Kane and Matt Turner, one of our books is focused on soccer. It's called Let's Play Soccer. And what's lovely about this story is all you need, for all the fancy and the hoopla of the big international soccer tournaments, the author points out you just need a ball, a place to play, and some friends. And it kind of makes it, brings it right back down to your backyard and makes it personal. We are going to have Kate Nishini, who's an actor, and she plays her guitar, and she's very musically inclined. And the book she reads is The Note Who Faced the Music, which is a hysterical book. Given your lovely sense of humor, I am sure you are going to get such a kick out of this book. So the quarter note doesn't feel whole and feels he's not as important, even as the half note, and decides to leave the sheet music, but the orchestra can't play. So it's really a story about how important each person is, no matter how much space or time we're getting attention for. But it is all done in such funny humor. The author was just hysterical with the puns and the music puns. It's really lovely. On Friday, we will be joined by astronauts and the Artemis II flight commander. And we're very fortunate. We have long-term Space Act agreements with NASA. And the reason they wanted a Space Act agreement with us is to demonstrate to children that any job in NASA requires creativity. So you might want to be the astronaut or the 1,000 people who stay down here on Earth to support that astronaut. So the book that we are going to feature, that the astronauts read, is Shoot for the Moon, Snoopy. And great. Many people know that NASA and Snoopy have a very lovely long-term relationship there. What the children will make that day is a zero gravity indicator. There was a Snoopy zero gravity indicator made out of plush a number of years ago, but they can make theirs out of anything. And then a mission patch, which every mission has a cloth patch that goes on the spacesuit. And of course, Snoopy had a mission patch a number of years ago, but they can do, anything they want. There are a lot of NASA patches.
Wonderful.
Saturday, we focus on financial literacy. And Michael Rainey Jr., who, an actor who started very young when he was 9 years old, he is passionate about making sure kids are money smart. And so he reads A Quick History of Money, and kids' art will be about money smart words and money oops and how you can prevent a money oops. And then Sunday is going to be a very special day for families. We have Bindi Irwin, joined by two artists who create Bluey, storyboard artist and an animation artist, and they explain how they bring Bluey to life. And the theme for Sunday is storytelling. So it's really a very special day for families.
Wonderful. What a fantastic. I'm curious, how did you come up with this idea for Creativity Week?
We wanted to bring the joy of creativity and inspire kids around the world in the most efficient and motivating way. You know, when you participate and you realize that there are going to be 17 million kids in 140 countries celebrating right alongside you, you feel like you're a part of something that's, you know, really big and monumental. Mm-hmm. And we believe in creativity every day, but this week really puts the spotlight and celebrates it to make sure that people talk about how important it is.
Yeah, it's super, super important. I love the idea. I love your lineup of books and celebrity readers, and I think this is just a wonderful thing. I hope every family out there takes part in it. Tell us again where folks can go to sign up to be part of Crayola Creativity Week, please.
It is free. You know, a lot of things out there, when people go to the website, they get a little, sticker shock. I just want to clarify, this is all free. It is Crayola's gift to the world. And you go to Crayola.com/Creativity Week. Excellent. And you can win prizes. Ooh. When teachers or parents or librarians post children's artwork, you know, there's the creative challenges. And so we ask kids to make various things each day, and you post it using our hashtag Crayola Creativity Week. There are prizes. We're giving away Martin guitars. Ooh. And on the Space Day, we're giving away S2 rockets. We give away technology, of course, books, and art supplies. So all sorts of special reasons to participate in the fun.
That's fantastic. And just one last question. I know, as I've toured, I've done a lot of performed at a lot of schools in Pennsylvania, down the Philadelphia suburbs. People can go and visit Crayola. Yeah. Am I right about that?
Yes. We have 5 locations around the country. And the one you're talking to about is in Easton, Pennsylvania. It's sort of, what would you say, halfway between New York and Philadelphia, right? Depending. Yep. We're right at the edge of the Pennsylvania-New Jersey border. And it is a great family experience. Just another simple way to bring creative moments into your life. Positive memories.
I love it. Yeah. Just think of, doing, I really want to encourage everybody out there that the ideas that you have, taking part of Creativity Week, help encourage your kids to create something that you can hang on the ceiling over their bed. And I bet if you're still in that house 20, 25 years from now, it's still going to be up there, and it's a beautiful thing. We've had a great time speaking to the driving force and architect of Crayola Creativity Week. It starts Monday, the 26th of January. I'm sorry.
You're thinking sunshine.
I am. Yes, I am. Our guest has been Cheri Sterman. Hey, Cheri, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you.
Hey, this episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by AspireDrinks.com. Hey, I have a quick question for you. Have you ever wanted a little extra energy, but not the kind that makes your heart race or leaves you crashing an hour later? Well, that's exactly why I want to tell you about Aspire Drinks. You'll find them at AspireDrinks.com. Aspire calls itself a healthy energy drink, and honestly, that description really fits. Instead of loading you up with sugar or extreme caffeine, Aspire delivers a gentle, steady boost with 80 milligrams of natural caffeine from green tea and guarana. That's about half the caffeine of most energy drinks, enough to help you stay focused without the jitters or the crash. It's also 0 sugar, 0 calories, and 0 artificial additives. which makes it a great choice for parents, teachers, and anyone trying to make healthier choices while still getting things done. And get this, it actually tastes great. Light, crisp, and lightly sparkling with flavors like sweet cherry, raspberry acai, mango lemonade. That's what I love. No heavy aftertaste and easy on the stomach. Aspire is packed with B and C vitamins, biotin, and ginger. And it's vegan, gluten-free, keto-friendly, really designed for real life. And just for Reading with Your Kids listeners, you can get an exclusive discount of 20% off. That's the highest discount available when you shop at AspireDrinks.com and use our promo code READ. That's READ at AspireDrinks.com. Healthy energy done right. Hey, my friends, I have a super idea you are going to love. How about this weekend, turn your backyard cookout into a storybook celebration. Fire up the grill, crack open a few of your favorite picture books, and serve up Big Fork Brand's legendary bacon sausage. Made with nitrate-free bacon and premium pork, it's juicy, smoky, and unforgettable. Top it off with Big Fork's spicy Chicago fire sauce, and you've got a meal as bold as the characters in your favorite bedtime tale. Get 20% off your order using the promo code READ at BigForkBrands.com. That's BigForkBrands.com. Promo code READ to get 20% off, because nothing brings families together like great food, great books, and a whole lot of flavor. Big Fork Brands. Read, grill, repeat. I have a feeling this is going to be a delicious episode of Reading with Your Kids. Our guest is returning to the show to celebrate her brand new picture book. It's called Plenty of Pancakes. Please welcome back Carrie Finison. Hey, Carrie. How are you?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's a little cold here in the Boston area. Carrie is not too far away from me. But isn't it weird how when it first hits 30 here, it's freezing and you're booking flights down to Puerto Rico or Florida, and then it's cold for a couple of weeks, and then when it gets back up to 32, you're walking around in shorts, and it's like, hey, this is kind of cool, comfortable.
Exactly. Just the other day I went out, it was about 40, and I was like, do I need a jacket? I don't think I really do. I'll just put on a heavy sweater.
Exactly. Well, tell me all about Plenty of Pancakes, please.
Yes. Well, Plenty of Pancakes is a sequel to my debut picture book, which was called Dozens of Donuts. So in that book, there's a bear named Luann who's making donuts. She's getting ready to hibernate, and her friends and neighbors keep dropping by, and they end up eating up all the donuts, and it makes her really upset. And then they kind of make up for it by making her many batches of donuts that she can eat. So this book, as the sequel, is still about Luann, but Luann basically is sleeping the whole time because she's still hibernating. And so what I did was I took one of the side characters from the first book, Topsy, the opossum, and Topsy is making Luann a pancake feast for when she wakes up in the springtime. So while she's making this feast, someone that isn't named, but that the kids and readers will be able to see on the page, ends up taking and eating the pancakes. And so Topsy's getting more and more upset, and she's making more and more pancakes. And then finally, her friends, all the characters from the original book, come out and they help her finish the pancake feast so that they have something for Luann when Luann wakes up.
I'm imagining if my daughter, who is celebrating her birthday today, and she's a very successful young woman, if she was still at the age where she'd be curling up in my lap, if we were reading this book together, she'd be yelling out, "Look, it's being eaten by that guy. Check it out."
Yes. Well, I will give a small spoiler, which is that the characters that you can see in the pictures eating the pancakes are two adorable baby bear cubs that presumably have been born to Luann during the process of hibernation, which is actually a true fact about bears, which is that the mother bear will give birth to cubs while hibernating, and then they kind of all come out of the den together. So in this story, I imagined that the cubs kind of woke up a little bit before Luann, and they sneak out of her house, and because they smell these delicious pancakes cooking, and they end up eating the pancakes. So the kids can kind of see the cubs. You can see like the tracks of the illustrator, Brian Farley did a great job of kind of making them a little bit hidden, but you can still see them, and their tracks are all over the place. And so they're the culprits in the story.
Very, very cool. What a great way to introduce a little science, because I just learned something. I had no idea that bears give birth during hibernation.
Well, I didn't either until I started researching hibernation. And actually, it's funny because, okay, so when I first wrote Dozens of Donuts, I was thinking that the end of that story would be that all the animals would go to sleep and that they would all hibernate. So when I was researching what animal characters there would be, I tried to pick animals that all do some type of hibernation. So like there's a woodchuck and a raccoon and chipmunks, and those are all hibernators. But I actually made a mistake, and I thought that opossums were hibernators, but actually they aren't. They do sometimes like slow down in the winter, and they might, hide in their nest if it's really cold, but in general they don't hibernate for a long period of time. So the end of Dozens of Donuts originally was supposed to be that bedtime ending where they kind of all go to sleep and hibernate. That got changed, so it didn't really matter anymore that they were hibernators. But then when I thought about making the sequel, I thought, well, this is perfect because Topsy can be the main character because she's not hibernating, right? And the rest of the animals are kind of gone. They're all in their hibernation states, but she's actually the one that's awake, and so she can make these pancakes. It's funny when you put facts and fiction together a little bit, like to justify these things, but it works in my brain.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned my daughter loving this and pointing it out. One of the neat things about picture books is when you have a curious kid, like both my kids, both my son and my daughter were very curious, and oftentimes what we would discover, what we would read about in a fun picture book, it would inspire us to go out and learn a little bit more about hibernation. I know that could we'd spend the afternoon finding out about hibernation and what it's all about, and maybe even imagining how cool it would be to be able to just hibernate during the winter time and not have to deal with the cold.
I'm imagining it right now. So I actually really like including little Easter egg kind of details like that in my stories. The other element of this book that is sort of science and math oriented is that the pancakes, as they are getting made, are counted by fives. So when Topsy makes her batches of pancakes, she makes them always in batches of 5. And then later in the story, when her friends come and they're starting to make a lot more pancakes, she counts them all by 5s to see if there's enough for Luann to eat. And so I like having that a little bit of a math element. It's not like really a lesson or anything like that, but it's just something that a kid could have fun with, looking on every page and seeing, oh, there's 5 pancakes here. There's all of these stacks have 5. How many are there in the whole book? Things like that. So you can, especially upon like reading it more than once, there's things like that to look for in the story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you're pointing it out. We're having this discussion because we've heard parents say, I have to read this book again. It's the 400th time. And it's a drag if you're reading it the same way every time. But if, like Carrie was talking about, if you're looking and you're reading it, and this time that you're reading it, you're focusing on how many pancakes there are, and and just letting that rereading of the book be the springboard into another conversation or an investigation.
Yes, exactly. I love it when I like to think about, when a child and an adult are reading my books, while they're reading, or maybe after they close the book, like what's the conversation that they're going to have about it? What are they going to talk about? So that really drives a lot of my thought process while I'm writing. I also like to think about, how would a kid participate in the reading of this story? So are they pointing something out in the pictures? in this particular story, Dozens of Donuts, the original had a refrain that was when the doorbell rings, because it was Luann making the donuts and her neighbors would come by. So every time the doorbell rang, it says ding dong in the text. And when I read it aloud, and I know a lot of people do this, when I read it aloud with kids, I always have them say like the ding dong part, right? Which they love. And so in this story, in Plenty of Pancakes, I wanted to include a type of refrain like that the kids could actually say. So every time the pancakes get eaten, we see that the bear cubs are eating them and they go munch, 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 right? So I was thinking that it would be really fun for the kids to just, when that comes to that part of the story, say munch, 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 like the baby bears.
Yeah. Talk about why you think that's important for kids and what benefits do kids get when we're reading with them and we give them space to participate.
I think it gives them a lot of, ownership over the story, right? They're helping to read it. I mean, I remember when my daughter was learning to read, she read a picture book that was one that we had read quite frequently. And she obviously couldn't decode all of the words, but she knew what happened on each page, and she kind of sat down and told the whole story of the book, right? And she had a lot of the words right, but some of them she made up when she kind of forgot what it said on that particular page. So I think in terms of like growing readers, it really helps kids to feel like they know how to read this book. They know what's supposed to happen on the next page, and there's something that they can say, words that they can say that they know are coming. And also it's just fun to make sounds, right? I think everybody likes doing that. So it's really fun and feels participatory, especially reading with a group, it helps kids to kind of come out of their shells and like have something to do with reading the story. So.
Yeah. I'm picturing a library read aloud while you're up in front of the kids. And I'm imagining the kids just kind of looking at each other, the munch, 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 and just kind of leaning in towards each other as they're making that noise.
Yeah, I hope so. I haven't read it with a group of kids yet, but I really hope that that's what happens.
Yeah. Tell me what book you mentioned that this is a sequel to your first book. How many books have you written in your career?
So this one is number 6 that's coming out. Plenty of Pancakes is coming out at the end of January, 2026. And then I actually have 2 more books coming out in early 2026. One is called Touch a Truck Day, which is a Lift the Flap board book, all about trucks. And then I have another, not really a sequel, it's more of a companion book to my book Don't Hug Doug, that's coming out in April, called Even Steven, which is a book about sharing. So that was kind of an interesting process to write that too. I actually wrote both Plenty of Pancakes and Even Steven like kind of close to each other because I was thinking, it was around like 2021-ish, and it was a time when it was very difficult to like submit new picture books because of the pandemic had like messed up a lot of stuff. And I thought to myself that I would try writing sequels to some of the books that I had that were, fairly successful, and see if I could get those published, and it worked. So, but it was interesting thinking about like, what are the elements that would make a good sequel to a book, right? So like, how do you kind of keep some of the things that are the same, but also have a new story, maybe different characters, but having it be familiar, but also feel fresh and new, right? And even for someone who hasn't read the first book, you don't have to have read either of those 2 first books to enjoy the second book either. So, yeah.
I'm curious how. Let's talk a little bit more about the difference between creating a book from scratch, if you will, from I get this inspiration, let me go at it, to now it's like, well, okay, that book was successful, let's build on that. Yeah,
it was an interesting process. I mean, I thought about it for a long time, like what would work, with Plenty of Pancakes. I was actually for a long time, I was thinking it needed to have some kind of math element because Dozens of Donuts has a math element where it's like, it's a dozen donuts and then you're dividing by factors of 12, right? So you're dividing by 2, 3, 4, and 6 donuts, or friends to share the donuts, right? So I knew it had to have some kind of math element. And for a long time I was thinking about maple syrup because, like being around here in New England, when the snow starts to melt and things start warm up a little, there's like people are making maple syrup, right? And it's just a traditional thing. And a fact that I think we all know, right, is that it takes 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. So I was thinking maybe that could be the math piece, but then I didn't think little kids would really be able to conceptualize that, and it didn't seem as fun to illustrate either. So I don't know why it took me so long to get from syrup to pancakes because it seems like a natural leap, but like it did take me a long time. And then, it's kind of fun because I actually liked having the constraints of like, okay, these are the characters. We're not gonna not gonna branch out into all new characters. Both books are written in rhyme, so I knew like the rhythm and the rhyme scheme that it was going to have already. I didn't want to change that. I actually ended up using a lot of language that sounds familiar or similar, like rhymes, similar words and phrasing to the original book to kind of make it feel familiar. So for example, the original starts out, early one morning as autumn leaves scatter, Luann's busy stirring a big bowl of batter. She'll eat some sweet treats, then warm and well fed, she'll sleep away winter tucked tight in her bed. That was for Dozens of Donuts. And then Plenty of Pancakes starts like this. Early one morning, as spring breezes blow, Topsy hauls bags through the fast melting snow. Luann slept all winter tucked tight in her bed, but soon she'll wake up and a bear must be fed. So you can see, like, I have that phrase, like, tucked tight in her bed. I use that again. I use the same bed-fed rhyme, but kind of in a different way. And they both start out with, like, early one morning, and it tells you the season. So in the first book, it was autumn. Now it's spring. So there's, like, a lot of similarities, but also it's a different story,
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. How difficult is it for you? Because there are lots of people, lots of new authors, they come and they go, oh, I wrote this rhyming picture book, and it's, the last words of a sentence, they rhyme, but that's not smooth. You're not following the rhythm that it should. How hard was it for you to learn how to write with that rhythm?
I mean, it took a really long time to, in general, just to like learn to write in rhyme, because of course, when you start out, I also thought this, that like really what matters is the words at the end of the lines rhyme, right? And that's actually not what writing in rhyme is at all. I mean, yes, those words have to rhyme, but really it's about having a very consistent meter through your lines and a consistent pattern so that the reader knows what to expect. And so I think I had like a fairly good, just natural ear for that, but I also spent a long time practicing. I started out actually writing like poetry, little short poems for Baby Bug magazine and like Highlights magazine and things like that. I joined a critique group of people who also write in rhyme. And a lot of them knew a lot more than me. So I learned a lot from them about, even the terminology and like how you talk about different rhythms, which some people just end up writing totally by ear and that's all they do and they never really learn that stuff. To me, it was helpful to study it because I wanted to know exactly why does this line not work with this other line, and stuff like that. So it was a long process. And I'm always still learning, to be honest, like it's still a process. But I also kind of like, the puzzle of figuring out how to say something in rhyme that feels natural and doesn't feel kind of forced. And, works in the right rhythm and adds rhyme. And I also think it's really, really fun to read aloud when it's done well. So, that's what I strive for.
Awesome. You mentioned that in addition to the 2 picture books coming out now, you have a board book coming out. Any thoughts of writing middle grade or YA?
I'm hoping to work my way up to like maybe a chapter book, like an early chapter book. I don't know about middle grade, probably not YA. Every once in a while I'm like, ooh, that would make a, my kids are 20 and 16 right now. So sometimes I'll hear things from them. I'm like, ooh, that would be the good, like, beginning of a YA novel or something. But I don't think I'm really cut out to write that stuff. So I like talking to the little kids and reading with them and going to visit bookstores and libraries and like seeing them enjoy my books and stuff. So
yeah, that must be a lot of fun. And how difficult was it for you to learn how to write in a way that you leave room for the illustrator to tell part of the story?
Yeah. It was not easy. Like I think I have a pretty I think visually already. So that was helpful. But it was definitely hard to learn that. And I remember getting some early, feedback on some early stories that were like, this seems more like a magazine story, which I think in general, when a writer is getting that kind of feedback, often it means you're not really considering the format of a picture book, which is, first of all, that it's illustrated. So you don't have to describe pretty much anything. You can leave everything to the illustrator to show. And then also that you're not really considering the fact that in a picture book, you have the page turn, right? And you can kind of control where that happens. So there can be a surprise on the next page. Or there should be something different on the next page. When you turn the page, you want it to be a different scene, different characters. You don't just want people like having a conversation and then having more of that same conversation on the next page, right? That's not really how picture books work. It did take a long time for me to learn that. And one thing that helped, I'm not an illustrator, but one thing that really helped me was I always make a little tiny like dummy book with just the text. And sometimes I'll do some little sketches to kind of think about what I imagine would appear on each page. I don't ever show that to the editor or the illustrator or anybody like that. It's just for me. But it really helps me to read the book as a book and like turn the pages while I'm reading so that I can envision how that story is going to unfold,
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. We should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Plenty of Pancakes and find out more about you.
Yes. So the best place is my website, which is CarrieFinison.com. I do have an author newsletter also, so if anyone wants to subscribe to that, I don't send it out too often. I would say like 8 times a year, maybe. They say you're supposed to be like really consistent, and I'm not really consistent with it, but I do like to share book news, and I do like giveaways, and sometimes I'll have like a virtual day where I'll visit classrooms virtually, just to share a new book or something like that. And then also on social media, I'm on Blue Sky and Instagram. You can just find me under Carrie Finison.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of Plenty of Pancakes. It's the new picture book from our guest, Carrie Finison. Hey, Carrie, thanks for being back on Reading with Your Kids.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids, and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. Hey, if the show moved you or made you smile, please consider sharing a link to the show with somebody you love. Imagine a family member, a family friend, classmates. How much fun would they have doing some of the activities we talked about with Cheri Sterman and taking advantage of all the great resources that Cheri and Crayola are putting up on their website. Please share a show to this link with someone you love. Leave a 5-star review, and of course, we would absolutely love it if you could subscribe to the show wherever you find the show. Also, would like to invite you to subscribe or connect with us on social media, Facebook.com/Reading with Your Kids, at Reading with Your Kids on Instagram, at Jedley Magic on X. Our website, readingwithyourkids.com, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Cheri Sterman. Please be sure to check out Crayola Creativity Week. Also want to thank Carrie Finison. Please be sure to check out Plenty of Pancakes. I want to thank my team, Chris Doherty, Jackson Saltellaro, Joanne Lynn. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we want to thank you. You are incredible. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better, more caring, and empathetic place. And you do that every time you read, create, cook, spend time with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.